Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of Supernatural Girls. I'm your host, Patricia Baker, and I'm here with my lovely co host, frying in Tucson,
You
Miss
sweet
PK.
talker, you.
How are
Frying
you?
is an understatement. Ay, ay, ay.
High heat in Tucson, huh?
Oh, God. It's the monsoon time, so it feels muggy and even worse than a normal hot day. There's that damp feel to it. Oh, well,
No,
getting old. I'll get over it.
it's been really cool here. We have had temperatures in the
Sure.
70s during the day, which is wonderful. And at night, it goes all the way down to 50.
I don't get 70s anytime without the air conditioning being cranked all the way to the top.
I know.
Good grief. Showing off, I tell
Life
you.
and doing well. I'll be complaining soon enough when winter hits. But yeah,
Good point.
that's
Good
right.
point.
We have
Well,
our trade.
what we're looking at, it's a 9 month ending a lot of old things. It's a 9 day making way for new things to take place. It's kind of like clearing the deck for us. So we've got some nice things coming up, but we've got to struggle through this month of letting go of what we don't want in our lives anymore. Get rid of those loose ends so you're ready to rock and roll next month.
I'm ready.
Oh,
I'm gonna have
I
to
am
wait a
too. And I'm already gearing it up. I know we're only a little over halfway through the month, but let's keep pushing it. Maybe it'll leave faster. I thought.
You're ready for September? Oh my goodness.
Oh, I
Okay.
am. As hot as it's been here, oh, definitely.
You are ready. Okay. I hate to see the summer go because it feels like it went too darn fast. But time
Yeah.
marches on. It feels like it's running forward way too fast. But anyways, tonight, as you know, we
Yes.
have a dear friend of yours on with us who's
Yes, we do.
extraordinary. She's extraordinary. Camille James Harman is with us tonight.
Hmm.
And she's an actress and she's a UAP NHI experiencer whose credits include the Academy Award winning film Vice, Shameless, Lifetime's A Daughter's Deceit, and numerous vertical dramas. She won 2 Best Actress awards for this film, Tiger Lily, and her sketch with Jordan Matter, My Daughter Survives World's Strictest Schools, has 74 million views. Amazing. So in 1995, after moving to Los Angeles from New Orleans, Camille had her first UAP sighting and anomalous experiences. She underwent hypnosis with Barbara Lamb and Yvonne Smith, which revealed frightening events with non-humans and living light beings. Her UAP travels include New Mexico, Arizona, the crop circles of England, and megaliths of Ireland. She wrote for UFO magazine from 2000 to, it doesn't say, there's another number missing. We're going to have to ask her how long she wrote because it says 2000 to 200. So we'll have to change that. And has presented at
Definitely more than that.
We're not going backwards, are we?
Uh-huh.
As an experiencer, she has appeared in TV shows, podcasts, documentaries, and was interviewed by the Los Angeles Times. She is a founding member of Hollywood Disclosure Alliance. Very interesting group. We have a lot to listen to tonight with Camille. Amazing lady with amazing stories to tell us. So, Camille, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Patricia. And Patricia, my mother's name is Patricia.
Oh my goodness.
A trifecta.
I'm so sorry about that typo. What happened is I wrote for the magazine 2000 to 2004, but my last article came out in 2005 in January. That's why I went to change it on some documents.
Well,
So
we'll change it for you.
2005, so a good 4 to 5 years there. So that's
Yeah,
great.
it's fun.
So what an interesting life you lead, from the stage to the screen to UFOs. So tell us how all this got started. Did this start when you were very young? Were you a small child when they first got interested in you?
Well, I believe so. However, that is just me looking back and seeing things with different eyes. My first bona fide experience that I had was in 1995. I was 29 years old in Los Angeles, right after moving there from New Orleans. And so that started the whole thing. But then now that I look back into my childhood, I had a lot of red flags. I had trauma in my childhood, which seems to be a recurring thing. I had severe nosebleeds that were ridiculous at night, paranormal fears, just straight, like what I was afraid of in my childhood were the slee stacks on the Land of the Lost and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, which are both reptilians.
Reptilians, yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, I had this sighting in LA with my old boyfriend. We had moved from New Orleans together. We were both actors. And when we got to LA, everything was great. We had agents, we had a cool house to rent. We had friends of his from college that were there. We had good day jobs. I had my SAG card. I was like, woohoo, I'm going to take them to this. I was all excited. And then I had read this Whitley Strieber book, though, right before I left, because I was compelled. I'm one of those people. I was walking through the store in August of 95, and I saw this Whitley Strieber book with the face, the alien face, and I only barely knew about that. I had seen the movie Communion because I love Christopher Walken. And I thought, that guy, he's still writing about aliens? I got to have this book. I got to see what he thinks now. And I read it, and I was blown away. It was called Breakthrough, his book that came out in 95. So that kind of opened the gate of my mind, shall we say. And then on the way to LA, we actually spent the night camping at Oak Creek Canyon near Sedona, which could figure into the story later. I don't know. But so we were walking our dog in Silver Lake. That was the neighborhood we lived in. And it was in the daytime when we saw this thing over our neighborhood. And we only looked up because our dog was barking at a squirrel that had gone up this palm tree. And so we saw this craft. It was very high. And we had the tree for a reference point that it was not moving. And we lived on a hill. We were on this huge hill with a whole view of the sky. And so it had like a shimmer around it. It was black and it seemed like a triangle, but it was so high up I couldn't really make out the shape exactly. But it had like a blue shimmer. And I remember, after a second, we looked at each other and he said to me, "You and your UFO book." I said, "Shut up." I said, "What is a UFO?" And we looked back and it was gone. And then I got really excited because we couldn't see it anywhere. There was nowhere it could have gotten to if it was like a helicopter or something else. So I gave him the leash and I ran home and I reported it. And I started going to MUFON meetings after that because that was MUFON and they told me about the meetings and I got all excited and started going to meetings. So, but right at the same time, this was like December of 95. So we had been in town since September. And I noticed that I was having all this anxiety that fall. And again, against all of my rational excitement, I was having this backdrop of weird anxieties and bodily sensations, including heartburn and just, I don't know, it was very weird. But long story short, the same month we had that sighting in December, I also had an attack in my bed twice in one night of sleep paralysis, which I had very occasionally. But this time it was different because the first time I had it that night, Eric, that's my son, Aiden. Eric was he was in the living room watching a movie and I was alone when it happened. And at the same time I had that paralysis state in bed, I heard this voice say my name, like an electronic sounding voice, just say my name in my ear. I was like, what is happening? And at the same time, I had a flash of a gun pointed at me, like a vision of a gun. I was like in this paralyzed state with all that going on as well, which had never happened to me. So I was very frightened and I finally melted out of it. And then it happened again later that night. And so when I met Barbara Lamb at these sessions, I said I had seen a Kim Carlsberg talk. And coincidentally, too, I had no menstrual cycle from the time I moved to LA until January after all this stuff happened, which is a long time. It's like 4 months.
Yeah. A little scary, too.
I was on the pill. And in my normal life, whenever I was late, I would just go get a test at Walgreens and find out, right? Mm-hmm. And so I never went and got a test. Like, who does that? Who goes that long and doesn't go get a test?
Yeah.
And I just kept putting it off and putting it off. So, and then it came back in January and I said to Barbara, I said, I'm afraid I'm one of those people. And I really want to target that night under hypnosis in December when I had that sleep paralysis. So we did. And I had this full on hybrid removal memory. It was terrifying. I call it a hybrid. I don't know what it was, but they took a little embryo out of me and it was so traumatizing. And I was so freaked out. And I mean, my teeth were chattering. I think I lost 2 pounds just sweating and screaming and my teeth chattering in that regression. And the way I remembered it is this blue beam of light came down through my ceiling. And when it hit me, I curled into this fetal position and I just went through the ceiling. And then all of a sudden I'm on this table in this misty room. And there are these beings, a big row of beings to my left. And another being that was like the doctor that I couldn't see. It was cloaked. And they were telling me to relax telepathically. And then this doctor being, I saw a flash of like this scary speculum thing. And then, you know, I really panicked. And it put that in me and took this little something out. And I could see it really briefly, like through the slats of this instrument. And it walked out of the room with it. And I was just losing it. And I felt so bereft. And I felt so just horrified. And
Did you feel violated? I mean, you were there all of a sudden.
I was like, what was that? You know,
So
where
were
did you see it? I couldn't see its whole body. So I don't know if it looked like a human or not a human. I don't remember being impregnated. It was the weirdest thing. And I've had regressions to try to get more information about that, and I can't. And I went to Bashar, you know, Bashar who channels, and I asked Bashar about that. And he said I had many children on the ships. And I was like, oh my God. So I don't know if I believe that, but I'm just saying, Bashar said, for people who follow Bashar.
But even if it was one, I mean, there's a place, do you ask yourself about, again, why you, number one, but number two, I mean, that's a real invasion. That's a physical invasion.
Yes, it is.
And it's a theft. They're taking something from you without your conscious permission.
That's how I saw it.
Yeah. So did that make you angry? What did it do?
Angry. It makes me very angry. And it makes me, I was so appalled that I didn't get more information other than relax, relax, relax.
Yeah.
Who can relax in that? Yeah. And so that was my first one. Like my first regression was a doozy, you know, and I leave there with this little cassette in my hand from Barbara, and I go home and play it for my boyfriend. And he's like, oh my God, like this is the worst thing ever if it's true. And it's the worst thing ever if it's not true, because it's real to you. And if it's not that, what the hell was that? You know? And so that was the end. I mean, my whole life changed. Boom, boom. There it was. The old me and the new me right there with that regression. And
now at that point, you hadn't had any children with your boyfriend.
No.
So were you looking forward to having children in the future and wondering if this was going to affect that?
I was. And I had people tell me, they would say, well, that can't be real. You must have had an abortion and you feel guilty. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I have never had an abortion, so that does not apply. So think of something else, you know? And when I did later meet my husband, Jeff, that you've had on the show many times, and we decided to have a baby, and I was pregnant, and I was so excited, but scared. I had a lot of anxiety that first trimester. Not only did I have horrible morning sickness, which is the worst, but I had the symptoms that I had then matched the symptoms I had back in Silver Lake.
That had to be very frightening for you.
It made it more real. And I actually called Dr. John Mack, and I said, Dr. Mack, do you have any clients who had an alien baby before their regular baby and can talk to me on the phone, because I'm really freaking out about being pregnant? It's bringing all that up. And I'm afraid this one's going to disappear. And he hooked me up with somebody to call and talk to, and it helped. And so when I got to like the fourth month and onward, and it started to show, then I relaxed and I knew, okay, you know, we made this baby on purpose. It's really a baby. It's going to happen. It's going to be okay. And it was okay. But man, so my second experience at the same house in Silver Lake, Eric went out of town. He went back to New Orleans to shoot a series for a week. And so I was alone sleeping. And this was in the age of digital alarm clocks, before our phones.
Yeah.
We had digital clocks. So I woke up 3 mornings in a row at 4:00 sharp and thought,
Wow.
there's no noise. Why am I awake? What is happening? Didn't hear anything. Didn't see anything. Got up the 3rd morning and I had a fresh scabbed, what do you call it? A triangular puncture wound. 3 little needle marks in a triangle on my leg, on my calf.
Oh,
For heaven's sake.
That is some alien thing. I have seen that on some show or a book. I've seen that. That's a thing. That's an alien thing. So I decided to get regressed, but I went to Yvonne Smith this time just to be experimental because I was curious. Like, there's another lady who does this. I'm going to go check her out too. So I had that regression with Yvonne. And by the way, I put up drawings. I sent you guys drawing if you want to show them of the first regression with the row of beings staring at me.
Yeah,
And
Joel,
then-
can you put that up?
That was the hybrid removal. Those were the ones I saw. It was a misty white light, and they were standing there all looking alike with the long arms, and they had these white coats on or capes or whatever with the high collar and some kind of circle triangle thing at their chest. So
Were these
Anyway.
the short grays or were these the tall grays?
tall to me, but I'm short and I was sideways on the table. So to me, they seem tall and very slender, but they could have just been short and slender. It was very misty. It wasn't like a normal,
Hard to-
it
yeah.
was, there was like
Like
a
a fog.
dispersion of a fog. That's
Yeah.
how they seemed. So anyway, for the triangle regression with Yvonne, same thing, blue light pulls me out of my bed. I go through the window instead of the ceiling though. That was weird.
Mm.
And it felt like to me sticking my arm in a bucket of lukewarm water, like room temperature water. Like, there's a difference between the air and the water, but it's so subtle.
Right.
And so instead of the misty room, I had a regular room that was not misty, and I had short beings that had wrinkly heads. They were like brown or gray, dark, wrinkly heads. That's all I saw. 3 of those on 3 sides of me. And then this tall one, that was a tall gray, again, with the white coat with the high collar. And this one used an apparatus to put this triangle on my leg. And they didn't talk to me. I was screaming at the little ones. And I was saying, you make me scared of little kids because you look like little kids, but you're not little kids. And recently I had been substitute teaching, and I had these little kids come up to me at school, and I didn't speak Spanish, and it was a Spanish class. It was hell. It was like a 3rd grade class with no lesson plan. And so I asked them to go bring me to the paper, and I was going to give them a drawing project while I thought of something. So they walked me over to this cabinet. They said, come here, teacher. And they grabbed my arms and they're pulling me toward this cabinet, these 3 little kids in 3rd grade. And my whole body just went into like, deja vu, deja vu. And I didn't panic or anything, but I had a body memory. I had a body memory of being pulled like that by my arms, short beings. It was like, oh my gosh. So that was that. That was the triangle. But the weird thing about this one was the gray, tall doctor alien. And I wasn't angry at that one. I was kind of mesmerized by it. And I thought it was very beautiful. I was focusing on its hands, how beautiful they were, these white fingers. But then it morphed into a mantis being. And I started screaming, like, no, it looks like a giant bug. And I don't know what that was about. I don't know if it really morphed or it was some other, trick they did to my mind or.
Well, the mantis are
Here. It was very strange.
Yeah, the mantis are supposed to be the ones in charge of all genetic programs.
Right.
So they usually stay in the background, but they're there. So
Well,
you have
there could have been both of them, and I just morphed them myself. I don't know what happened. It's your mind. It's hypnosis. Who knows what's really.
Yeah, they're basically
Very
in control of the mind
Very
at that
scary.
time. Yeah, gosh.
That was number 2. And then the next thing that happened, and I'm trying to go through these kind of quickly. I don't mean to be blasé about it, but I just have so much to tell to people, and I just want to get through these because it all happened at the same time frame, 1995 and 96. So the next thing that happened is I went and got all my fillings changed by this very handsome dentist in Beverly Hills.
Lucky
And
you.
You should
I
see
worked at
mine.
this place, and we all had the same dentist, and we all had a crush on him. And he's in Vegas now. He still is a dentist. Anyway, and I told him, I said, I read that sometimes people freak out in the dentist chair if they're abducted by aliens, and that's me. And I just wanted to tell you that I've never freaked out at the dentist chair. I've had braces and everything. But if you ever find anything weird in my body, you have to tell me. And he looked at me like, okay, lady. Well, I read a book about Roswell, and that was Philip Corso's book. He had read that. He said, so I'm open-minded. I said, okay. So he filled all my he took out all the mercury fillings. He put in the new white stuff, and they were all great, except one of them was really sensitive. And I went back to him and I said, I love my new fillings, but this one hurts. I don't know why. Can you look at it? And he said, well, the seal is good, but I'll just redo it. And I'll use a different brand. Maybe, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was sensitive. I don't know. So he's digging out the brand new filling, and he gets to this thing, and he's like digging and giving me more shots and digging, and it's really hard. And he's drilling and drilling. Finally, he gets out the little mirror and he says, you have something in your mouth that was not there before when I did this tooth. And I don't know what you want me to do about that. And I said, what? And he showed it to me with a mirror. And he said, it's really hard, and it's spherical or semi-spherical. And I just thought I'd tell you. And I said, well, just put the new filling in and I'll think about it. And so we did that, and it stopped hurting. And so I went to Barbara Smith. I put their names together. I went to Barbara Lamb, and I did another regression. How did I get this thing in my mouth? Right. And I think I'm going to get aliens like last time. And I had the most terrifying memory yet. So I come to, there's no beam. I come to in the memory, and I'm on a table in an exam room, normal exam room, no mist. And there's cabinets and a countertop and all that. And there are two men standing there, and they're wearing lab coats, men. And they had khaki pants and black dress shoes. And they called me a troublemaker. I felt drugged. Okay. So first, to distinguish it, I did not feel hyper alert and immobile like with the aliens. I felt hyper alert, but I just couldn't move. With these guys, I felt drugged and barely conscious. And one of them put a syringe into, this is how I remember it, put a syringe into my cheek and squirted something into my jaw above that tooth.
Oh my God.
They didn't go in my mouth like that. And then I was wheeled down a hall on a gurney, and I go into this giant room. It's a hangar, and there's a black helicopter in it. And they put me in this helicopter, lying down, face up, and the ceiling opens, or somehow it's all of a sudden really bright. Like I went from darkness to super bright sunlight. And we go up, and they bring me home to Silver Lake, to my neighborhood. And there's this little field by my old house. It's still a field, by the way. And they landed, and they said, go home and take a nap. And that's all I remember. I don't remember getting out. I don't remember how they picked me up. I don't remember walking to my door. Did I have a purse? Did I have my key? I have no idea what that was, but it scared the hell out of me. And I did remember there was a helicopter over our house one night. I was in the bathtub, and it was so loud and over our house that I got out of the tub. And I thought, there's a robber like right next to our house, and I don't want to be in the tub if something crazy happens. Mm-hmm. And Eric went to the backyard to look up at it. And as soon as he went out in the yard, he heard from speakers in the helicopter, he heard, he's in the backyard. And then he was like, oh crap, the burglar's like in our yard or the next door neighbor's yard. And he ran back in and shut the door. And I was standing there. I saw all this. And now I look back on it, and I wonder, like, was that involved with me? And was that like not just the police? Was that some other thing going on? Were they talking about my boyfriend in the backyard? Like, I'll never know. Right. Probably just a random crime in the LAPD, but I don't know. So that was very weird. And it made me very paranoid. And now we can talk for a little bit about why me, right?
Okay, but before you go there, I've got a question.
Yeah.
You still have that thing in your mouth?
I do. I showed you I have part of it in, but it doesn't hurt anymore. Now, if you can barely see in where I circled that picture above my filling, there's a slight dome that's a slightly different shade than the filling. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to have the right contrast, I guess, but I can see it on my screen. Yeah. It's a very slight dome in there. So I had a Navy doctor look at it.
Yeah. And you just said, I'll leave it there?
I just said, I'll leave it there. Yeah. Because he refilled it and stopped hurting. I had a Navy doctor look at my triangle and told him about the tooth thing. And he wanted me to give up my tooth for research. Like, will you let us take your tooth? And I said, no, I'm not giving up my tooth. So it's still there. Interesting. It was a Navy doctor through MUFON that wanted to look at it too, because the Navy is implicated. And those khaki pants that I saw, that's Navy. And now we're finding out the Office of Intelligence and the Navy is very involved. And I actually recently was doing a podcast. Well, it wasn't doing when I was commenting on somebody else's, and I talked about that story. And Tim Gallaudet, Admiral Tim Gallaudet, was listening to that, and now he's on Trump's UAP task force. And he messaged me through LinkedIn, and he said, "I want to hear your story, because if the Navy is involved in things like that, I need to know about it." And I was like, "Oh my God, yes,
Yeah, they've been involved in that since the beginning."
So we met. Yeah. So we met at Contact in the Desert, and I gave him like a whole dossier on me with images and the whole thing. And I said, I know you're busy. He had three lectures there, and I went to them, and he's really sweet. And then we talked afterward, but it's good that this is coming out. I'm telling you, I'm so excited about disclosure, but it is complex. Now here, back to the why me, right? That's what we all think when this happens to us. We're like, why me? What the heck?
Right.
So
why you?
Things I've heard over the years that are high occurrence in the abductee is Celtic ancestry is very high ranking in the.
Oh, no kidding.
Also Cherokee Indian, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have that, but I have the Celtic, I have the Scottish, Irish, British, Belgian ancestry. I have, some people say the Rh negative thing is a real thing. I have Rh negative blood. I have the heterochromia, hazel green eyes with the ring, the gold ring around the middle. I have that. That's another thing people talk about. But the biggest red flag for me is my maternal line has had some weird stuff go on, and including my uncle, who I lived with as a child for a year when I was a toddler. My Uncle Jack, who worked at NASA when I was a toddler in the late 60s. And I went to live with him and his family for a year. And at the time, he was working on the Saturn V rocket with Werner von Braun as a mechanical engineer. And he was career in NASA until he retired. And then he, had a nice retirement. And then he passed away from COVID. But when I asked him about this, when I asked him in the 90s, Uncle Jack, what do you know? You got to tell me. He said, Camille, I don't know anything. And if it's true, it's NSA and they are never going to tell you. And you're just going to have to get over it.
Right.
I was like, oh my God. And then I made friends with Chris Bledsoe, who's all hooked in with NASA people. And he's like, Camille, if he knew anything, he had to sign so many non-disclosures and he couldn't have told you. He would have lost his pension. He would have gone to prison. He couldn't have told you if he knew. So I wonder, you hear about this biology for technology swap back in the 50s. Right. And I mean, maybe certain of us, there is also, I meet a lot of abductees, experiencers, whatever they call themselves, in these support groups over the years. And a lot of them have family that's in the military industrial complex, that's in aerospace, Air Force. So that's very interesting to me. And it makes you wonder, like,
are they targeting children of military people?
Yeah, and now we're hearing about the GATE program, and I remember being brought into GATE as a kid, but I don't remember much about it. I think I was kicked out. I don't think I was smart enough, but I'm hearing all these stories now. I hate math. That's probably why.
Smart enough.
I'm a theater person. I hate math. They probably kicked me out. I had a high IQ back then, but I was not good with math. Anyway, so these are all the things I wonder about, why me. That's really it. That's the list. So, but it wasn't all bad. So now I can get into the happy parts. But
it wasn't all bad, but you had some pretty challenging experiences that most people would make them furious and paranoid because you have no control over any of it. It happens. And you have to just go with it. So, I mean, I think it takes a special person to be able to navigate these waters and stay grounded and successful in the world as you have done.
I do count my blessings that I have been able to stay employed and stay out of mental institution or whatever. And no rehab, no addiction problems, no, um, I never went to jail. I don't even have any tattoos. Okay.
Oh, shucks.
So, I mean, I'm
Thought that was
pretty,
going to be the big story.
no, I mean, I'm pretty like, I'm pretty normal in my way of handling it. And the reason, this is what I attribute God's blessing. And I attribute the fact that my memories are predominantly retrieved by hypnosis. I have these experiences with this circumstantial evidence and marks, and I sent you guys 2 pictures of marks on my body too, on my back, on my shoulders that were each.
Yeah, let's take a look at those, Joel.
One
We
was
have
a grid. That was a grid pattern. I mean, I don't know what that was, but that's a thing. I've seen other people have that.
right.
They've had pictures of themselves with that. And I wouldn't have noticed it except my boyfriend noticed it. I didn't remember getting that. And then here's another one. I did remember this. I had a dream I was bitten by a spider and I woke up with this little incision. And I would get this feeling of like a bee sting on my shoulder there. And then a jolt of electricity would go down my arm. And it would just happen randomly. And then I met this guy at a party and he was introduced to me as someone who deprogrammed mind control victims. And I went, oh yeah, we need to talk because I might be a mind control victim since I was a MyLab victim. And I said, what do you think is going on with this tooth? And he said, well, he could scan people because he said, let me look at you. Like he could read people that way. And I said, what do you think is going on with this thing in my tooth that my dentist found? And like, is that still operating? And he goes, whatever you have in your tooth, I don't think it's doing anything. He said, but what have you got in your right shoulder? And I was like, oh yeah, that thing. And he said, I can work on that. And I went to his house and he did this whole like weird treatment to me where it was a lot of talking and putting magnets on me and it was weird. Anyway, that feeling with the bee sting and the jolt went away. That was pretty weird.
Do you think that was an implant that you had?
I don't know because I never had it x-rayed. And the little cut went away and I should have had that x-rayed. I mean, you don't have a logical mind sometimes with these things. That's another thing that's recurring. Yeah. You have things that should be investigated further that you just don't.
Yeah, they don't want you messing with them. So I can see where they would direct you away from it. But Becky Andreasen, who used to be one of our co-hosts here, she's a daughter of Betty Andreasen and the Andreasen affair. She had quite a few implants. And then one of them started to like stick out from her heel. And she got so fed up with it all. And she grabbed a lighter and set it on fire.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Well, it was in her foot, but she had it with these implants. And she got rid of it. But there were others.
I guess.
It makes you wonder too, what are they for?
I know.
They don't need to track you with an implant. So what was it doing? And I know Daryl, remember we had him on the show, Alien Hunter.
Right.
He thought it was to actually influence the people that they had abducted.
It could be.
So that's what the implants were for, which is
that's the worst part of all this. The worst part of all this, beside the physical terror, is wondering who has been in control of your mind or messing with your mind.
Right. Yes.
Definitely.
Because if you don't know until you know, like if you have a recovered memory or you go to get hypnotized or you have a spontaneous recovered memory, you don't know. And then you're like, why am I an actress? Was I told you're going to be an actress, right? Or is that a natural progression of my career? I don't know. So here's the good. I do want to get to the good part.
Yes,
so
please.
I found myself, despite all that drama, I found myself saying things like, "Oh, humans, they're so this, they're so that, humans," And I was like, "Why am I talking like I'm not a human, or from some perspective that's not human?" And what is that all about? And I had this feeling of longing for beings that I did not remember. And it wasn't the ones that had me on the table, I don't think, And so I went to Barbara and I said, Barbara, I have this weird feeling of longing for beings I don't remember. And I'm saying things like humans this, humans that, oh, poor humans. And I said, can we target that? Like, is that too vague? And she said, no, let's do it. So she puts me in hypnosis and I have this memory, started off with extreme claustrophobia of being in the body, just panic attack, a memory of being like forced in the body and just screaming, I don't want to be in this body. It's so weak. It's so small. Just freaking out. And I felt like somebody was stuffing a sofa into a pillow slip. And it was just horrible claustrophobia. And she said, well, go to when you felt better, like not in this, I don't know the exact words, but go to your happy place before you had to go in the body or whatever. So I pop out, and then I'm a blue orb, and I'm floating in space in the void. I'm a blue orb. And I see my two friends that are blue orbs, and I start crying with recognition. And then I look and I see Earth is spinning really fast, and it frightens me. And I know I have to go there. It's like being on a diving board, a high diving board in your little pit. Like, and I was panicking again. And I said, I don't want to go to Earth. I don't want to go to Earth. And Barbara said, well, why do you have to go to Earth? I said, I don't know. And she said, well, maybe there's someone you can ask. And I don't know if I asked or if they appeared first. I can't remember. But these huge white light beings appeared they just dwarfed me. And they had a somewhat human form inside the light, but they were mostly light. But they did have like white robes on. And I started merging with them, and I said, they're my home, they're my family. And that's why I wear a white bathrobe. And that's why I made my boyfriend a Lawrence of Arabia costume. And I was like crying. I was like, this whole like white robes thing and putting it all together. And I just felt so ecstatic and I felt oneness and out of time and all the good things that people describe in like a near-death experience. So I had an out-of-body experience. I wasn't near death, but I had a hypnotically induced out-of-body experience. And now I know what it's called. And it was so much. And I said, why do I have to go to Earth? And they said, because the Earth needs you. And I said, why? And they said, to fight evil. And I was like, what? What do I do? What do I do? Oh my God. And I said, well, they said, tell people we exist and that we love them. And they showed me this image of shooting like energy from God through them to the Earth and out their fingertips. And it was like, they said, we're always here doing this, but you guys are walking around with umbrellas. And they showed me this image of everyone walking around with an umbrella, and they couldn't get through to people.
Not me.
It was amazing. And I said, well, what do I do? Lecture about you? And they said, you're supposed to do it through your acting. And I said, really? Because they don't make stuff like that. Yeah. Really? Come on now. And they said, don't worry, we will set it up so that you meet people and make projects worthy of your time. And I said, okay, yes, that's
awesome. Like a winner.
Yeah. Yes, let's do that. And so, and they said, the reason you're working so many jobs, because I was catering and faux finishing and doing all these actor jobs, right? So I was always with different people all the time. Substitute teaching. They said, it's because you feel compelled to tell as many people as possible about what's happening. But if you keep doing your acting, you will reach a much bigger audience. And I said, okay. So the very next film I did was about an angelic encounter. It was a little short, but still, it was about an angelic encounter, the very next film. And it was called The Encounter. I was like, no way. And then later on, flash forward, I was in this big Oscar-winning film, Vice, that came out in 2018 and won an Oscar in 2019. And it was with Christian Bale and Steve Carell and all these big actors. And I had the best time. I had a small part playing Mary Madeline, but it was about Dick Cheney. And I thought, well, that's fighting evil. I'm telling the story of Dick Cheney. So there's that. But then I also thought, now in 2026, we're just finding out. Apparently, the whistleblowers are saying that Dick Cheney was one of MJ-12, and he was one of the high level people in charge of the alien cover-up. And I'm like, no way. Oh my God, that's even better. So tying it all together. So, I mean, I'm still acting. I don't always do projects that are fighting evil and saving the world, obviously. But I do a lot of documentaries too. And I tell my story. And I'm in this one called Accidental Truth Next that Ron James made. That is out now. And it's really good. And then some other ones, Alien Disclosure Files. You can go on my IMDb and find those. It's under self or documentaries. Like, it's not my acting stuff. It's like another category. But and I'm finishing my book. But so I came out of that memory so happy that I had this these beings that were like my people. And I just feel like that eclipsed all the other bad stuff almost. It was so beautiful, it was so worth it to get to that. And so really I've talked a lot, but that's kind of the extent.
What do you want people to know about this? Because they want you to tell about them.
No, it is very complicated and it's still a mystery. But I'll tell you what, eventually, because I did all these things, I had so many adventures and great synchronicities. I went to England, I saw the crop circles. I had all these amazing experiences that go along with being part of this world. And I wouldn't trade those experiences, even though all that stuff was so scary. And I think I survived so well because I had to go get hypnotized to remember it fully. I think if I'd been fully conscious when all this was happening to me, I may have not been as capable just living life, you know.
That makes
That would
sense.
have been like the people I know that have been through conscious, very terrifying experiences like that. I don't know how they do it. I do not know how they do it. So I just was lucky that I didn't have that.
This is my question, Camille. It's like they want you to tell people about them and your experiences and what happened. Now, clearly, they cross boundaries with you a bunch of times. So
yeah, those beings that had me on the table, they were not the same as the light beings, though. So I tell people it's all going on, like it's all happening, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
But I'm just looking at it from a perspective of, okay, what are people supposed to do with that? Because if they don't have the consciousness that you do, and they go, oh, okay, great. So what you're telling me is these entities can come and go as they please out of my bedroom, taking me through windows, doors, ceilings, taking embryos, doing whatever they want to me. That is not a comforting thought.
I agree. And I don't know what to tell them. Other than that, I pray. I am a Christian and I pray. And I've had experiences where I've called on Jesus and it has stopped immediately.
Oh.
So that's what I do.
Good to know.
That works for me. And so I did actually drop out of all this for a while. And I went to church. I went to the Latin Mass for 9 years. And my husband, Jeff, who's an experiencer, who's an astrologer, who I met in Malibu in 1998, he was like, wow, because he predicted it. He was like, you're going to have a big spiritual awakening. This was in Tucson when we moved to Tucson. And I said, I have those all the time. And he said, no, something big. And I said, okay, whatever. And then I had this born again experience when I was writing my book. I started my book and I got to the end and I didn't know how to tell people what it was. I said, God, I am so frustrated. Like, show me what this was so I can get on with my life. I don't want to lead anyone astray. And I had these books come my way that were the aliens or demons theory. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, oh my God, they're demons. Holy cow. That's fascinating. And, you know, I went down that rabbit hole and I just dropped out and I went to Latin Mass and wore a veil and listened to Gregorian chant. And it was my happy place. And Jeff was like, oh my God, like, how can you take all your past life memories and all that and just throw it out the window and go to church and just throw all that away? And I said, because it's so beautiful and I'm happy and leave me alone. I'm in my happy place. And I did that for years and I just didn't go to UFO meetings or anything. But then I got into Tartaria research and I was like, okay, wait a minute. And then it brought me out of my Catholic obsession. Now I still consider myself a great lover of Jesus, and the rituals of Catholicism are very beautiful, but I'm not a good Catholic. I still go to Mass and I'm not a good Catholic. I'm not in a state of grace. I'm not believing the whole thing. I have experiences that are beyond what they talk about, but I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the saints and the mystics who had experiences that closely parallel these encounters like Diana Pasulka's writing about. So it was a wonderful oasis of spirituality at a time in my life when it was good to take a break and look at other things. Mm-hmm. And so it's still a point of contention in my marriage, of course. But I believe in astrology. I believe in these non-human intelligences. I am considering simulation theory very seriously. There are a lot of things I am looking at. I am open-minded again. Does that make sense? Yes. Some of this may be demonic. Some of it may be demonic. Some of it may be angelic. But there's like a lot of other stuff going on. And so I don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater anymore. Right. And that's what I was doing. So
Yeah.
I started going to conferences and speaking again and getting more caught up with everything that had happened in the 9 years when I dropped out. And then disclosure hit, and I was like, wow, it's happening. And so I'm just very excited now. I'm in Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, which is great because it's a group of Hollywood people that believe in all this stuff and have had experiences, or they're just really into it. And we network and we cast each other, and we work on projects and have events. And it's so fun to be around people that get me. So I love that. And Jeff's in it too. And I'm going to conferences. I go to Contact in the Desert every year. I've gone like 3 or 4 times now. And so it's just all going on. I even had a ghost attack. Okay.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
My first ghost
Can't leave that out. Yeah.
Oh, so I was in Ireland, and we pulled up on this tour. It was a wonderful tour. It was the best trip ever. And I'm part Irish, so I just loved it. But we went to this place after visiting the Shrine of Knock, where there was a Marian apparition, and I put holy water all over myself, and my knee was healed. That I had a torn meniscus, and it was healed by. But that night, after doing that, we pull up to this big hotel, and I look at it and I go, oh my God, this looks like a big Tartaria mental asylum. And she said, this was a mental asylum for 150 years, and now it's a hotel. And I'm like, we're sleeping here. Oh my God. Okay. So we go to bed, and sure enough, in the middle of the night, I was awakened. I had a roommate. I went with a friend. She's 70. She was sleeping in the other bed. She's great. And so I wake up, full body goosebumps, like a wave of goosebumps that woke me up. I was so scared. I was in the bed with we had the curtains drawn, and my clock was across the room. My cell phone was charging across the room, so I didn't know what time it was. It was pitch black. And I just thought, oh my God, what is happening? And then all of a sudden I felt this thing in my sheets, because I sleep on my side all curled up. It was scratching my sheets like this in my sheets. And for some reason I was so mesmerized that it was happening, and I could move. And with the aliens, I could not move, but with the ghost, I could move. And so I put my hand down. I was brave, and I put my hand down, and I went, and I scratched back at it. And then I went tap, 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 like, I hear you, ghost, and then he goes back at me. He goes, scratch, 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 boom. And it poked me in the arm, like really aggressively.
Oh my.
Woo! And then I was so scared, and I just went, oh my God. I said, stop in the name of Jesus Christ, and stopped. And then I was just waiting, and it didn't come back. It was done. And then I didn't know what time it was, and I couldn't go back to bed. So long story short, we got up, and we told the hotel staff, and they were like, yeah. And I wrote it up on TripAdvisor, and there was this other website where the hotel was listed as having ghost stories, and I read all the others, and I wrote mine on there. And the actor who played Shakespeare in Hamnet this year in that film, he had not the same thing, but he had a ghost encounter there too when he was at that hotel.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
So it's a thing there. But anyway, it was exciting because I thank God Jesus stopped it when I wanted it to stop, because I was not going to let that thing touch me anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I've heard that a lot with the ET experiences and interdimensionals, both, that it can have that kind of power, which is great. But it sounds like what you found is a way to become a part of a community, and with your experiences. Yeah. And so that's wonderful. Where people can come together with us.
We don't agree on everything, and we all have the gamut of experiences. So, but I think what is good about my perspective, I have Mercury in Libra, so I can see all sides, and I can stay open-minded, and I can be cautious, but I can also be willing to hear the people that are having really good experiences, And I made friends with Chris Bledsoe, and I've seen orbs with him many times. I've seen a lot of other UFOs too. I didn't even talk about in Tucson. And I've had UFOs show up in photos that I've taken. It's kind of weird. And other light phenomena. There's two pictures I sent of me at White Sands where I drew a big alien face in the sand. And this was after the 97 Roswell event. And my friend taking the picture said, draw a big alien face. So I drew this big alien face, and I was yelling at the sky. I was kind of joking. I was saying, I dare you to come down here, you bastards. And then this light phenomena shows up in our photos of where I'm looking. Like it's right in my line of sight in both photos. I was like, oh my gosh, something was there. So I'm staying hopeful. I'm staying hopeful about disclosure. I'm really excited about everything escalating. I know it's going to be scary in some ways, but I'm ready for it. I'm like, bring it on. Enough. Whatever it is, we have to handle it. It's time.
Well, I think too that, I mean, they've been lying for so long, and we all know they've been lying for so long, but this is the big piece that they're withholding about abductees and abduction. That is something they do not want to talk about. They don't want anybody to know. They've been seriously involved with all of this in terms of abduction experience, and also harassing abductees.
Yes.
We know so many that were threatened, and all of the great grandchildren from Roswell. I mean, that's how far they took this. If you talk about this, then we're going to wipe out your family. I mean, how dare they?
I agree.
You're having a bona fide experience. It's your experience. You're generous enough to want to share it with other people and then learn together. And here's the government sticking their nose all over the place where it doesn't belong, trying to control the whole thing. And we find it abhorrent, basically.
I agree. And who is above the government that's telling the government to do that too, possibly?
Those are the real people in charge, or whatever they are.
And so these controller people who've been around, for centuries and longer, I'm sure they're involved in the cover-up. It's way more tied to the occult than people would like to know. And occult secrets and historical secrets like Tartaria stuff and resets and all that. I've gone way down the rabbit hole now, so there's no stopping it. But I do have faith in this administration and what they're trying to do, and I think things are escalating. And there may be some things that are not up to us; they're up to the beings, and they may be working on a timeline that they know is not something they're in control of, and so they're doing it. And here's another thing. I mean, people have their political sides and everything, but the goal of world peace that is so urgent right now is perhaps a factor in whether the good beings are going to help us. And so I think it's like, we cannot deal with you all until you have world peace. So try on that, try to get that. And then we can, I hope that's at play. I would love to have things, because a lot of experiencers have dreams and stuff I have the tidal waves and the volcano and all the dreams of tornadoes and earthquakes and all that. But a lot of them have images where they're told, you need to take care of the planet, and you can't have nuclear weapons. And I don't get those dreams. I'm not saying they're not real and valid concerns, but I'm just saying, okay, aliens, if you're going to scold us about how we're doing things here without giving us some help, like, okay, what would you like us to be using? Because the other energy we're trying is not really practical. The windmills, the batteries, that's rare earth mineral. Like, do you have free energy you want to give us? Do you have some cool thing that you want to hand us? So it's like they scold us, but they don't tell us how to fix it.
They don't tell us the truth. So
that's true. They lie a lot too. People need to know that they lie a lot. They give people information that doesn't come true. Like Billy Meyer, I asked Wendell Stevens once, who wrote all these books about the Pleiadians and Billy Meyer. I said, "Do you trust those Pleiadians?" He said, "No." And I said, "Oh, why?" And he said, "Because they told us things and they gave us dates and stuff that did not happen." I said, "Oh, that's good enough for me."
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's
very challenging, for all of us to go, okay, so we want to build on something. We want to build on something for inner peace, outer peace, happy planet, all of that.
Yeah.
But where's the truth?
I think it's good to know that we're all multidimensional beings, and we may be having simultaneous existences that we tap into occasionally. Because some people say there's no past and present and future. There's like everything at once, and we're just like resonating with certain places and times and stuff at different times. That's why people have time slips, and some people think the aliens are from the future coming here to like fix things, or I don't know if they're from the future or they've been alongside us all this time, or they're from under the oceans or inside the mountains. It's probably all of the above. That's at this point, I think it's all of the above. There's like angels and demons and aliens and ultra terrestrials and interdimensional. It's like a big pot of soup of all kinds of beings.
Yeah,
So I don't
it's all
get
connected.
hung up on classifying them.
Camille,
Yeah.
how has this affected you raising your son?
He claims he's never had anything happen. I know that
Mhm.
when he was a toddler, he pulled my communion book off the shelf and tore the cover into like 8 pieces.
My God.
That says something.
I taped it back together, and I have it. I show people that picture, and I say, my son swears he's never had anything, because I just figured, because Jeff had it and I had it, like you're our child, so I hope you don't have it, but, you know.
Oh, that's
you.
why I was
No.
wondered what his
Yeah.
effect was.
He's open-minded to it all. He's gone to some contact in the desert stuff with me and things, but he's not super into it.
Mhm.
But he respects that I am, and he's not embarrassed.
That's all that counts.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
He's all about, like, Mom, don't get so obsessed that you don't make money. He's like, whatever you do with your obsession, try to make some money at it. Hello. You know,
Does he want another motorcycle? What is it?
he wants me because I have a master's degree and I'm an actress, right? But I hardly ever make big acting jobs that pay a lot of money. It's so few and far between, and such a strange career choice. And yet, you know, there's Dad with no college degree, and Dad makes all this money doing astrology. And I'm like, that's not how it normally is. Okay. You know,
He shows well.
I was such a like straight A student, you know, like I loved school so much. He's so not like me at all. He likes cars and motorcycles.
Oh, I knew you liked motorcycles. There was no question about that.
Yeah. So I just try to be loving and helpful and kind and share my story and say, I don't know what it was, but here's my journey. That's where I went. All these, you know, I went on all these paths, and we just have to know that we were born to be alive at this time to experience this and rise to the occasion, and you know, try to get through it and stay joyful and connected.
Yes, that's the idea. Did you ever watch the television series People of Earth?
Yes, it's so funny. Oh my gosh. It's so
I
true.
love that series. It's about a group of abductees, and they come together in a support group and all of that. And then they canceled it. I was so
I
mad.
know.
But it was the funniest. It was very lightheanded, and I thought the casting was terrific. But if you ever get to watch it, people in our audience who haven't seen it, check it out. It's really worth seeing. And it takes all of the issues of this, and it handles them. It handles them very, very well. So I wish they put that back on.
I do too.
That would be neat. That would be neat.
Yeah. So I have high hopes. I think it's going to be a very exciting the rest of this year into next year.
Agreed.
And I feel it culminating. And I'm like, I want to stay alive to see how this works out.
You know you will.
I hope so. I'm working at it.
Oh, yes.
Great.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Well, Camille, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been so interesting listening to all of what you've been through. We only scratched the surface, I know, because you've had so many experiences over and over again. But this has been great. It gives us a lot of insight as to what it's like
Most definitely
to be an abductee. And I know they say experiencer now, but I'm using UFOs and abductees.
Yeah. I did have someone pray over me to make it stop back in 97, and that seemed to work because it stopped for a long time. So I want people to look at that as an option. You know, just pray if it's happening to you and it scares you. Some people pray and nothing happens. Some people pray and it does help. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, they say they're not allowed to interfere, but hey, that doesn't make any sense. They interfere. So they interfere when they want to.
Here's the thing too, is that when people say they're all demonic because when people pray, they go away. I say, well, just because a being obeys Jesus and goes away doesn't mean it's a demon.
Right.
That's true.
It could just be obedient. So we don't know what we're dealing with exactly yet.
We really don't. We really don't. Well, keep us posted on everything. We're going to have to wrap up. But thank you again, Camille, for everything. And we'll be back next week, everybody, with another great show. And until then, we'll see you on the Blue Highway.